Here we have a SAT math question. Okay, let's go to the question. 1 gallon of paint will cover 220 square feet of a surface. A room has a total wall area of W square feet. Which equation represents the total amount of paint P in gallons needed to paint the walls of the room twice? Okay, so we can assume some variable X as the amount of paint in gallons required to paint the walls for one time. Okay, here I assume X as the number of gallons of paint required to paint the wall for one time. So once I get the value of X, it can be multiplied by 2 to find the number of gallons of paint required to paint the walls of the room twice. Okay, so now our aim is to find the value of X. Okay, according to the question, 1 gallon of paint can be used to paint 220 square feet of a surface. So it can be written as a ratio, that is 1 to 220. Then, so X gallons can be used to paint the wall area of W square feet. So X to W. So both the ratios represent the same stuff. There is 1 gallon of paint is used to paint 220 square feet of a surface. So and we assume X as the number of gallons of paint required to paint the wall area of W square feet. So since both the ratios represent the same stuff, we can equate them. So now our aim is to solve for X. For that we can write each ratio as a fraction. Then I'm getting 1 over 220, and if I write the second ratio as a fraction, I'm getting X over W. To solve for X in this equation, what I need to do is I have to multiply both sides by W to get rid of the W in denominator over here. So when I multiply both sides by W, this W will cancel out, and W times 1 is W over 220. On the right side, I get X. So now I've solved for X, that is X equals to W over 220. We have assumed X as a number of gallons of paint required to paint the walls of the room. So walls of the room for one time. But according to the question, we have to find the number of gallons of paint required to paint the walls of the room twice. So what do we have to do? It's very simple. We just have to multiply this X by 2. So when I multiply this X by 2 on the right side also I have to multiply it by 2. So let's multiply both sides by 2. Then I'm getting 2X equals to 2 times W over 220. So here we can simplify. 2 goes into 2 one times and 2 goes into 2 here one times and 0. So I'm getting 2X is equal to W is over 110. So X represents number of gallons of paint required to paint the walls of the room one time. Then 2X represents the number of gallons of paint required to paint the walls of the room twice. We find this quantity W over 110 in option A. So the correct answer choice for this question is option A.